Hello! So, I've gone on enough recently about how bad my reading's been, although I'm currently reading Beloved by Toni Morrison and loving it, but more about that in my wrap-up. So, I have decided to conquer my just lack of inspiration in reading really recently by reading books from my favourite authors. Now, this isn't going to be all I'm going to be reading, but this is sort of my TBR pile, plus I've still got to do my non-fiction challenge and my library pick challenge, so this isn't all I'm going to be reading, but these are a few books that I've picked out to give me a bit of a boost and give me some inspiration, and hopefully are going to be books that I love. So I thought I would share them with you today, because why not? Let's get the book club spreading again. So, firstly, we have Jeanette Winterson's The Passion. I love Jeanette Winterson. I haven't read that much of her fiction. We got Symmetries, which I absolutely loved, and Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, which I wasn't actually that blown away with. But I do really like what she does with language, and I find her a very inspiring writer, and I'm looking forward to getting into her massive back catalogue. I've also read her non-fiction Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal, and her short story collection The World and Other Places, which I loved both of those. So I'm really hoping for good things with this. I'm going to tell you a bit about these books, but with this one I cannot, because on the back it's just got quotes about what people thought of it, which kind of irritates me with books. But at the same time, you know, I'm sure it'll be good, and what's wrong with going into a book blind every now and again. Then I have John McGregors So Many Ways to Begin. I read John McGregors If Nobody Speaks of Remarkable Things at the start of the year and adored it. Like, best book ever. So I had to get it, yeah. And I am kind of skipping a lot of books that have been on my shelf for a hell of a lot longer, because I only got this last week, but I kind of just feel like I need it in my life. From what I can tell, this is about sort of dissatisfaction with your life, and I think the effect of not having much money and things like that. Sounds really interesting. It's John McGregor, so I'm sure it'll be great. I've read the first few pages and the writing was on point, as you would expect, so I'm very much looking forward to that one. Then I've got John Steinbeck's The Pearl. I adore John Steinbeck. I loved East of Eden, and I loved The Grapes of Wrath, which I read earlier this year. This is less than 100 pages, so it's only a tiny little book, but it's about the effect of the wealth and how that makes you as a person, which sounds fascinating, and studied through John Steinbeck's eyes, I am sure it will be as fascinating as it promises to be. Then I have got Carson McCullers, The Member of the Wedding. The only other Carson McCullers I have read is The Heart of a Lonely Hunter, but I was absolutely blown away by her writing, and she wrote The Heart of the Lonely Hunter when she was 22, so, you know, gotta be good, right? The only thing that I'm a bit sceptical about is that The Heart of the Lonely Hunter is sort of her creme de la creme, and, you know, when you start with the creme de la creme, sometimes the others are disappointing, but sometimes they're pleasant surprises and are actually better. So we shall see. Is basically, from what I can tell, about a 12-year-old girl whose brother is getting married, and she develops quite an unhealthy obsession with the idea of the marriage and getting herself involved in the marriage. That's all I can tell from this, but I am hoping for high things again. Then I've got Ali Smith's There But For There. This, I can't really tell what it's about from the back. All I know is that it's about a man at a dinner party who goes and locks himself in one of the rooms and stuff in shoes. That's all I know. I have heard bad things about this. I've heard quite a lot of bad things about this. That it's slow and boring and puts people off. Ali Smith generally is my sort of understanding of it, but I'm hoping that going into it already being a massive fan of Ali Smith, I will appreciate it. I think maybe it's one of those books that people start with and possibly isn't the place to start with her. But as I say, I'm hoping that going into it, loving her already, I will be inspired by this one. Then I've got Lorrie Moore. Isn't one of my favourite authors, I wouldn't say, but I thought I would include this in here anyway because she is a short story writer who I really enjoy. So I thought to tie in with my sort of favourite-ish authors, I would put this in there because it's a short story collection, so that covers my short story task for the month. And this is Bark. This is her most recent, and I have previously read Birds of America and Self-Help by her. She's very good at hitting the nail on the head in terms of sort of human issues. It's going to be interesting going back to her now because she was really one of the people that I started with in terms of short stories, and at the time she was very much what I was after. But now I kind of enjoy a magical realism short story more, so we'll see how we get along with this. I've also heard that this isn't her best. I have high hopes anyway, so we shall see. Then finally, this is a bit of a toss-up. Going to be a Hilary Mantel. I kind of want to read Bring Up the Bodies. I've wanted to read Bring Up the Bodies for a long time. It's very thick and very dense, And also, I can't remember that much at all about Walpole. Like, I loved it when I was reading it, but it's one of those books that I think so much went over my head. But Hilary Mantel's writing is phenomenal, and I really do want to read this one. And as I say, I loved Walpole. I loved it. But there is a lot of sort of historical figures and historical things. The thing I found very confusing was that there was like 13 characters with the name Thomas. So, as you can imagine, that gets quite complicated. But I have high hopes, and I'm really looking forward to getting into her writing again. But if I don't feel up to this one, depending on how the rest of the reading goes, I might pick up the other Hilary Mantel I have, which is Beyond Black. All I know about it is that it's about a circus and a medium that works at the circus, and sort of the struggles I think that she has with the things that she knows that she doesn't tell people because she doesn't want to scare them, and sort of the knowledge that she has of the afterlife. So it sounds quite interesting. I'm sure it'll be good because Hilary Mantel's writing is, as I said, very, very good. So that's all the books I've picked. As I say, I don't know when I'm strictly going to get to these because I already have a pile of books that I need to read for the month. But I just wanted to share them because at some point soon, in the next 2 months sort of thing, I will be getting to all of these. I don't often do TBRs, but I just thought we would boost the morale on this channel because recently things have not been going so well. Though this month has already improved, and as I say, I'm absolutely loving Beloved. So fingers crossed, it'll carry on getting better. Bye!